Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today for lunch, we are going to do some one-eye jacks, home fries, and we're going to make kind of a creamy peanut butter bar for Teddy. I'm hoping that he'll eat it and it'll be something full of calories for him because he's getting to be a skinny mini. Okay, let's start with our home fries. I'm going to just kind of cut each of my potatoes in half, and then we will kind of slice down, make kind of good size wedges or like little slices, not too thin, but not too thick, because we want them to kind of crisp up in the oven. And we're going to cook them on our air fryer setting at 425. But if you don't have an air fryer, convection bake at 425 works well as well. And I got more olive oil, so I don't have my little olive oil container anymore. Finally kind of stocked up on everything, but I know halfway through this week I'm gonna find something. I'm like, I was out of that too. Okay, let's get these chopped and ready. I'm using russet, but a gold potato would work well for this as well. There. And I will say, two big potatoes will make a lot of fries. And then we'll pop these in the oven. We'll season up our meat and patties, start working on our peanut butter bars. So pretty simple lunch today, keeping it simple. We already had a start of a crazy week. We had soccer practice early this morning, and then we have another soccer practice tonight. So just lots busy. So I'm going to take my potato slices here. We're going to put them in my big bowl.
You have a question? What are one-eyed jacks?
They are hamburgers with a fried egg on top. They're really delicious. Sometimes they're called breakfast burgers, but if I'm going to call it a breakfast burger, I'm going to want to put in some breakfast sausage in the beef and then add some bacon and things. But they're really good because you fry that egg, and then when you bite it, the yolk kind of goes over the burger. So delicious. Okay, we are going to add on some olive oil. We want about, I want to say, 2 tablespoons, enough to really kind of coat them, but they don't need to be glistening. And then we are going to add in about a tablespoon or so of flour. I'm going to just grab a spoon here. And this flour is going to just kind of coat them and give you that steak fry coating on them. I just think it tastes so good. So just about a tablespoonish. Maybe we'll do closer to 2 tablespoons. We've got a good amount of potatoes. And then I'm going to use some Lowry's seasoned salt. This is going to give you that steak fry taste. It works really great. We're going to put it about a teaspoon or so in here. And then I'm just going to go in with my hands, and we're just going to coat all of these potatoes in this kind of little batter that we made. And that way they'll have all this great seasoning on them, and they'll crisp up nicely in the oven. And the Lowry seasoned salt has paprika in it, so it gives it that nice kind of lovely orangish color that typically you see on steak fries. Now we're going to lay them out on our baking sheet. When you lay them out on your baking sheet, you want to make sure that they're not touching each other, like they're not resting on top of each other. So just make sure they each have their own little spot. This is going to allow them to crisp up the best, so that you want a nice kind of crispy but tender on the inside French fry.
Yo wants to know what's for dinner.
I have no idea. I'm going to think about that during our next soccer practice, and I'll figure that out. I didn't know what I was cooking for lunch until like 5 minutes ago. So, it's one of those things I got to think about all the possibilities I have, even though I did go grocery shopping and I have lots of possibilities. I think it might be a fish though, because I picked up like 3 types of fish for this week. My husband's going to love that. So it could be tilapia, it could be trout, it could be salmon. We'll see. Let's get these all kind of spread out again. And you kind of get Tetris. So these 2 big potatoes will fill up this kind of whole sheet. If you're going to do any more, you either want to go to 2 sheets, or I have a really big sheet and a half that works well too. But we're going to get this. We're going to make it all fit as best as we can. But that, again, that flour just is going to add just a whole nother level of like crispiness to your French fry. We're going to make this.
You had a question? What's in the batter?
So it is simply just flour, oil, and Lowry seasoned salt. And you just kind of coat them all together on there, and they'll crisp up nicely. Let's see if get any of those thicker pieces off. Okay. So they all have just about their own spot on there. Wash my hands. And then we're going to go pop these in the oven at 450, or not 450, 415 on my air fryer setting. If you don't have an air fryer setting on your oven, you can do 415, 425. I don't even know why my brain is not working today. 425. And I'm going to put it in here for about 15 minutes, and then we'll check on it and see if they need to crisp up any more or not. With the air fryer, it does high heat that rotates around, so it crisps it a lot faster than a traditional bake. So if you were going to do a traditional bake, you'd want to probably put it up to 450 and let it cook for about 18 minutes for a little long. Let's start. We're going to shape out our patties, and then we can start working on our peanut butter bars next. So let me get my meat cutting board. I've got about just like 1.5 pounds of ground beef here, and we are going to season it up with Worcestershire sauce, so about a tablespoon. That's going to make them extra juicy. And then we're going to put in a little bit of onion powder. Do a good shake around, like a teaspoon or so. And then a little bit of garlic salt, and we're just keeping it simple. And the ground beef I'm using about an 80-20%, so 80% meat, 20% fat. With burgers, the fattier the meat cut, the juicier and tender your burger is going to be. So that lean ground beef is not going to make a really good burger. So we're going to mix these up, and then we'll shape our patties. I'm going to be making 6 patties out of this. And you just want to make sure you get all of that seasoning mixed in. But that Worcestershire is a like vinegar-based sauce if you're not familiar with it. But it's going to work with the fat in the meat, and it's going to help make it nice and juicy. There we go. So I have these just about mixed up.
Your question, how was the breakfast yesterday?
It was delicious. Almond pastry. I think there's one little teeny almond pastry left. So it was great. It went by fast. Everybody loves almond pastry. It's one of those things I used to make it a lot more than I do now, but they were so good. I'm going to first try to divide these up evenly, because I know if I try to shape them out, then we're going to get to the last one and it's going to be like a half burger. So each one of these should be, a little bit more than a 1/4 pound. See, I did not divide it up well either.
And how was the chicken last night?
The chicken was delicious. It got picked clean. There was no leftovers. Everyone was talking about, why haven't you done chicken roast in so long, and about how delicious and like flavorful it was. So it turned out fantastic. And again, I'm like, I don't know why I don't do chicken as often, because if you think about it, if you're on a budget, a whole chicken is really, really cheap. It's about $8 for like a 5-pound whole chicken. So, I was like sitting there and I'm like, gosh, that whole chicken fed all the family. And everyone loved it. I think it was just so moist. That was like kind of the best part, because chicken, I think roast chicken can get, dried out so fast. Here we go. It's that trick of putting that broth in for it to kind of cook up, and so it steams it. So we're going to make these patties nice and thin. Every time I used to say I make smash burgers, they always seize up to regular size. So ground meat, like ground beef, when you cook it, it's going to shrink up and get fatter. So always make them thinner than you think, thinner than what you want your burger to, because it will always end up about that much smaller and about that thicker. So make them thinner and they'll seize up and shrink on you. And that's because the beef, you're using a higher content of like fat in your meat. And once that starts to cook out, it shrinks. Because for smash burgers, you really have to make them like paper thin. And mine never. So I'm just going to stop calling them smash, because I'll be like, I'll smash them down really thin, but they're not. Okay. Once I get this up, then we can kind of get our show on the road. Okay. Let me wash my hands. Okay, so we've got our burger patties there, nice and seasoned up. And I'm going to cook my burgers in butter, like a butter burger, because it just tastes better than doing it in oil. So I'm going to turn on my pan and we're going to have it start to heat up. And I put my butter right over here. And then we'll work on our peanut butter bars. The last thing we'll cook up is our eggs, because eggs need very little time. And we don't want them to get overcooked. So I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of butter. We'll let it melt up, and then we'll put, I'll do about, I think I can get 3. I might have to do 2 patties at a time, because even though they'll shrink up, I've got to get them in there. Okay, let's make our peanut butter bars, which are just like those classic peanut butter bars you had growing up. I'm going to use a mixture of graham cracker crumbs and Ritz cracker crumbs. You can also do crushed pretzels in here. They all kind of do work well. There we go. So I always just kind of crack them or crunch them a little bit in their package before I put them out, because I think it just crunches them up a little bit easier. And I'm making these because, Teddy had his tonsillectomy last week. And these will be pretty creamy that he can eat them. And they're going to be a high calorie food, because the poor guy has really eaten hardly anything. He's been breaking my heart. But he's actually today is much better. This weekend was, these last 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, were probably his roughest days. But now he seems to be doing a lot better. He ate breakfast, so, it's a win. But I'm doing a little less crumbs in it for him, so there's not too many, but typically I use about 3 cups of graham cracker crumbs, or any crumb of your choice. You can do Ritz crackers if you want a little bit more salty one, not quite as sweet, or pretzels too. Crushed pretzels work really great in it too. So it's about 3 packages of like graham cracker things, or you could buy the pre ones, like the ones that you use to make your graham cracker crust. So we'll get this, crush them up, and I always say, crush them up first before you open it, because they crush up really easy in there without a huge mess, and you don't have to like put them in another bag and do the crushing process. There we go. And for this, you don't have to make them super fine. I like my crackers to have just a little bit of texture to it, so that your bar isn't super smooth and creamy. So we want about 3 cups. I'm using a little bit less, so there's just not as much crunch in there for Teddy. But everything else, we're going to keep the right proportions. We're going to use a stick or a 1/2 cup of softened butter. All right, you want to have like a room temperature butter so it creams in nicely. Here we go. All of this butter. I softened it too much. There we go. And before I start mixing this together, I'm actually going to put my chocolate chips on to start melting because it's going to have a chocolate peanut butter coating. So I'm making a homemade double boiler where I have a pot with about 1.5 inches of water in it. And then I'm going to put you can do a glass or a metal bowl over the top. And then all you do is you turn on your heat, and once it will start to boil and it will melt your chocolate to prevent it from burning, because chocolate has a tendency to burn pretty quick. And what you need is about 2 cups of chocolate chips. So I'm going to use, this is half, it would be just half this bag really. There we go. And we're going to add in 1/4 cup of peanut butter to that. And that will help melt it and make it nice and smooth. And then we'll be using some more peanut butter in our things. Here we go. So we got that right there. Let's add our burgers, our first round of our burgers in. Our pan is nice and hot. You can see we've got a good sizzle here. Let's let it roll around. And I'm cooking it in the butter because it's just like, what is it? I think Culver's, where they actually put butter in the patty. But it's just going to taste even better.
You have a question? Did you make it to the supermarket today?
I did. I got my grocery shopping done, and I have a feeling I forgot something, but as always, halfway through the week, I'll forget. And, you know, everybody in my family tells me, oh, you should make a list. I should, but I don't. In my younger years, not that old, but I always had an amazing memory. And so I never wrote anything down. Well, I'm older and I have 5 kids, and I will say I don't remember nearly as much as I did before. I remember more than my husband, though. Okay, we're going to add 1.5 cups of peanut butter to our bowl here. So we've got a stick of butter, which is 1/2 cup, and then we're going to add in 1.5 cups. And you want creamy peanut butter for this. And whatever your favorite peanut butter is, that's what you're going to want to use. And I will say this is the one, you don't want to use your healthy peanut butter on it because these aren't meant to be healthy. So your sugar-free, you know, the ones with the oil going on, which is still delicious, but they're wasted on this. Okay, so we've got it in here. We're going to cream these two together, and then we're going to add in 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. But we'll cream these first. That makes it a little bit easier to cream. There we go. And I say hand mixers work great for creaming. Just goes a little bit faster than if you were to try to do this by your hand, especially with peanut butter, because it likes to fight you. But this is going to be our base to our peanut butter bars, which will have, if you've never had a peanut butter bar, they're kind of like a Buckeye. If you've never had a Buckeye, it's just a sweet peanut butter with crackers in it, and then you have chocolate on it. Okay, we're going to add in 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. So we got 1.5. And then I'm going to just check on my burgers here. I'm going to rotate it.
Sharon, thank you so good.
Oh, well, thank you, Sharon. Looking at these, they're looking pretty good. I'm going to flip them over since I've noticed they're starting to get nice and brown around the edge. Look at that. And see this nice crust on it? That's what you get from your butter, which is going to make them just so juicy and have so much flavor, along with that, you know, the onion powder and the garlic salt we used in it. Okay, let's cream these guys in here together. And then we'll add in our crumbs, our little cracker crumbs, in just a second. And that's going to give us a nice little texture to it. Kind of breaks up the overall sweetness too. Okay. And now we're going to add in our crumbs. And we're going to incorporate them together until we've got a nice kind of paste forms. And these are a no bake. You just kind of put them in the fridge to form up, but they are so delicious. They're kind of like a Reese's peanut butter cup. And that's what I'm surprised. Reese's hasn't done a graham cracker Reese's peanut butter cup. You know, they've done so many ones. Or we tried the peanut butter and jelly ones. Those were not good. But I feel like a graham cracker Reese's peanut butter cup would be delicious. Okay. Let's see. Just about. We'll let them cook for just a little bit longer. I'm going to turn down my heat. And we're going to put a slice of cheese over the top of each one now that they've gotten kind of their basting. Now, when we take these off, these are going to continue to cook. So we want to, that's one of those things. You don't want to cook them too much because then you'll get a well-done burger, and I like a nice medium rare burger on it. Once that cheese starts to kind of melt down, we'll move them off and we'll make our next one. I'm going to give our chocolate a little bit of a stir right here. You can see it's starting to melt. And then we will go look at our French fries and see how they're doing. They may need a little bit more, but when I do things on the air fryer, I always want to keep a watchful eye on it because it can go really fast from being done to being overdone. So they are looking good. I'm going to give them maybe like 3-4 more minutes. So I'm going to set my timer for 3 minutes, and those should be perfect crispiness because you want them to have a little bit of a crisp. You don't want them to be like those mushy fries. Okay. Now that our cheese has started to shrink down, I'm going to take each one of my burgers off. And I put my cheese on first because I want that to kind of melt down over it. We'll put our fried egg on it in just a second. But you don't want to wait because otherwise that cheese won't melt. Okay. Just going to add in our last patties on each one. And you see how our patties we started with and how they look now, just how much they've shrunk in size. And that's just from it seizing up and, letting out the fat and the natural juices come out. Okay. I'm going to get my butter going so we can start getting ready to cook our fried eggs here. Let's see. Do a little bit. We're going to let our pan, make sure our pan gets nice and hot before we put them in there. And there we go. We've got our base right here done. Let's give this a good stir. Now these bars, well, you could always try to eat them right away. You really need to wait until the chocolate sets once we pour that over there, because if you don't, they'll be really messy. But I always just pop them in the fridge, and then like an hour later, the chocolate is firm on top, and then you're ready to cut up and eat. Here we go. So we're getting there. So I'm going to use, this is a like ceramic 9 by 13 inch pan. So this is great for these bars because they'll slide out easily when you're cutting them. Just don't want to get anything. And also putting these in the fridge makes the base firm up a little bit more, but then they melt in your mouth because that butter and that powdered sugar in there just melts away. I'm hoping Teddy will eat them, and I hope he eats a lot of them because he needs to eat some food. I'm hoping every day now that he starts to get better that he'll get more of an appetite. So we're gonna put our bars out. I don't make these super thick because they are they're pretty rich. I really could have done these in a 9 by 9 inch pan. Here we go. You know what? We're gonna do it in a 9 by 9 pan just because it will be easier to prep. But let's go grab I'm gonna grab my things real quick out because they should be done. Beautiful. So they are nice and done and crispy. You can see they've got these golden edges on them. These are our home fries that we seasoned with flour, Lowry seasoning salt, and a little bit of olive oil. And then I'm going to switch because it will just be better. I won't need this big bulky one. So I'm using, I'm using my 9 by or my 8 by 8 pan here, and it's a non-stick, which means that peanut butter won't, when it firms up, it won't stick to the pan. Just if you're using this, do not use a knife to cut your bars. Flip them out onto a cutting board and then cut them. I've lost so many baking dishes to my stepdad cutting into them with a knife. And I'm just like, don't use a knife. There we go.
So we have some questions asking for the base for this.
So this is super simple. It is just peanut butter. So I use 1.5 cups of peanut butter, 1.5 cups of powdered sugar, and then 3 cups of crushed graham crackers. Now I kind of substituted and did half graham crackers and half Ritz crackers to be a bit more salty, but I make them both ways. But this is a recipe card I do believe that we have on our things for everybody. I think I gave this one out all the way in March or April. So this one is a freebie that we have for everybody on our page. Here we go. Our top is almost ready. I'm going to flip our burgers here. There we go. Beautiful. And then we are going to start frying up our eggs. And I'm just doing 4 because not everybody in my family likes a fried egg on their burger. They're crazy, I know, but we'll do this. Of course. Let me get that eggshell out. Now, I will tell you, of all of my cooking things, frying eggs are like I'm the worst at. Because I'm not patient when I go to flip them. Because I always do an egg over easy. I don't do sunny side up. And so sunny side up is when you cook them until, and a lot of times you put a lid over it to steam it. I don't do that. I flip them over to get that kind of crusty side on both sides and cook with it a little bit. But I always end up popping my yolk. Okay, we're going to spread our peanut butter base out and kind of push it down. And then slide it off. And then I'm just going to get a little bit of parchment paper here to flatten it out. Or wax paper. Let's see. I have wax paper. That will work. And this will prevent it, you can push it down. That way you can make it nice and flat and firm. And then the wax paper should not stick to it when you pull it up. Sometimes it sticks a little bit, but for the most part, it should spread out nicely. It's the same thing I do with, Rice Krispies. There we go. I was like, what are those? Rice Krispies, Scotcheroos, when you want to put it down firmly. So we've got our peanut butter base down. Our chocolate is just about ready, but our burgers here are ready for their cheese because they're almost done. And kind of do it by feel. I'm going to leave one of my burgers cheeseless because one of my kids does not like cheese. easy. And then we're going to take our chocolate mixture. So this is our chocolate and peanut butter cut, or a fourth a cup of peanut butter that we mixed or did our double boiler to melt. And we're going to pour it over. And this is you got to mix that peanut butter in it because it just gives you a little extra thing, but it makes it to where the chocolate crust is firm, but not rock hard. Because you do keep these in the fridge to kind of keep them nice and firm. And if you just melt chocolate, it will be rock hard. But that fourth a cup of peanut butter makes it to where it's a soft firm, where it's not going to get you covered in chocolate when you eat it, but it's going to have like just a nice, melting point on it. So we're just going to kind of bring it all the way, just like that. Beautiful. So we've got our chocolate peanut butter thing. And these, what we'll do is we'll put them in the fridge to chill. But let's get on with our burgers here. I'm going to actually take them out now. We'll get Evie. She's my food critic too, and she's the one who doesn't like cheese. So I've got our burgers here that we seasoned with garlic salt, Worcestershire, and onion powder, so they're nice and savory. And now we're going to do our eggs. We're going to flip our eggs, and then we'll be ready to assemble. I said really simple lunch today. Okay, I'm going to turn my pan off, and we're just going to let the residual heat kind of cook up that other side. So we did 1, 2, and 3, 4. I did not pop it. Now with this, you don't want to leave them long. So we're going to assemble our burger and plate because the longer you leave it, I removed it from my heat. I just want to crisp up that side, but I don't want it to cook all the way through where it's nice and firm. So let's assemble our burger, which is really not hard, guys. Okay, let's move that out of the way because we'll do it over here. Now, again, we're not going to cut into our peanut butter bars because they're not ready yet. We've got to firm up. So let's start. We're going to do our home fries. I'm going to take them off. You see we've got this nice kind of crispy edges on the other side that are like toasted up. And there we seasoned our potatoes with Lowry seasoned salt, oil, and flour. And then we have our delicious hamburger here made with Worcestershire, seasoned with Worcestershire, onion powder, and garlic salt. We have a slice of cheddar cheese. And then we're going to put our fried egg on top. And then this is the best part. You see, you have your yolk. When you bite into it, it's going to ooze down over the top of your burger to make a one-eyed Jack. So, and let's not forget, in about an hour, when this has firmed up, this is our peanut butter bars made with creamy peanut butter, crushed graham cracker and Ritz crumbs, powdered sugar, and then we have a chocolate peanut butter top it right on the top. So it'll be a delicious kind of creamy chocolate Reese's peanut butter cup. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We try to do live cooking shows every single day to show you what we're making for our family and hopefully teach you guys something along the way. Again, we do upload all of our videos to the link on our page. So if you ever want to recreate any of our recipes at home, all you have to do is go to that link, search for what we cooked, and you can watch and cook along with me again. We also have a link to our Amazon storefront that has all of our different cooking gadgets and gears, our pots and pans. I've got my all-clad pans in there. Everything that I try to use in the kitchen, I have uploaded on my storefront for you to check out in case you're interested. But again, thanks so much for joining us here. Don't forget to like and subscribe.